Surrey Bank, so they need to hold their line now, use this rhythm and keep inching away. Make use of it while you've got it.
Look at that, bow for bow, a real race in the rain. Cambridge just about lead, and over the course of history, 80% of leaders at Hammersmith Bridge have gone on to be winners. It certainly, though, isn't a given. Last year, Cambridge trailed here and powered round the outside to win. Indeed, 3 of the last 6 races have been won by the crew trailing at Hammersmith Bridge. There's almost nothing in it.
I must admit, I don't agree with the call from the umpire here. It's warning Cambridge, and in my mind, it's Oxford that are trying to pinch the bend. Cambridge just holding their genuine line.
The other thing that's interesting here is how close it is. Cambridge have really kept themselves in. But remember, this is one of the knockout points that Bonnie Williams talked about earlier. Cambridge now have to finish Oxford off in the next couple of minutes, or Oxford get the next bend.
The direction of the race alters radically here. Suddenly the crews will turn southwest as opposed to northwest, so relative wind and water conditions alter here too. James Cracknell, are you noting any difference in the water, in the conditions?
No, the water's pretty flat. They'll be pretty happy with the condition they've got as they come through. Hammersmith, Cambridge put in a great burst just before Hammersmith and have really dug in deep. And Oxford really clipped a lot of water, and it's now them who are on the defensive, and they've got to dig deep. And to be honest, I didn't think, they didn't think they'd be in this position, so they're going to have doubts starting to creep in their head. Cambridge are going to be feeling stronger and stronger and stronger.
And the oars are pretty well interlinking. Let's get down and hear from the Coxes. Nick Brodie of Oxford.
Here we come. Just taking a seat here, boys. Stay loose for the challenge, boys.
Fabulous race. A fair bit of training time is spent on this part of the course. The bend does, of course, favour the Surrey side, but in pre-race fixtures here, both crews have shown good speed and have won around the outside of the Surrey bend.
Yeah, interesting there. It was Nick Brodie calling for calm and patience. Rebecca calling for a big push again. Cambridge are going to push for 10, see if they can kill this Oxford fight off. They know they've got only a few minutes to do.
Cambridge still have a nice snappy rhythm there. I still like how they look from the stern, but again, they've only got the next 3 minutes, 2 minutes to kill Oxford off.
This is the heart of the race, the guts of the race. Fitness and adrenaline on one hand, just keeping going. Concentration and technique on the other. Togetherness, 8 men attempting to move as one. Exhausted as they are over this stretch of the river by the great human overspill from the densely populated Hammersmith pubs. And more of the umpire's voice, and he's voicing his displeasure about Cambridge's position on the whole.
I must admit, I still disagree with his decision. Okay, around that bend, I think he was very harsh on the Cambridge. They were the ones tucked in on their station. It was Oxford that were trying to pinch the bend. I mean, yeah, okay, it could disrupt their rhythm. At the moment, they're still clashing. There's still the contacts very close there. And okay, we now get to the straight bit of the river before the bend, and the last bend starts to turn around into Oxford's favour. So, yeah, again, it's Cambridge that maybe need to keep that punch going. They probably used up a lot of energy in this first 11 minutes or so. And okay, they need to keep that rhythm and keep on going. Otherwise, Oxford will take the advantage again.
Oxford have just thrown everything in there to keep themselves in the race, and look at that, they're leading now by maybe 2 men. This is not looking good for Cambridge all of a sudden.
By now they've come up past St Paul's School. They have bypassed the little green island known as the Chiswick 8, and a little way beyond that, the next of the major timing points, the Chiswick Steps. And it would be a foolish man who punted too much on who would win from here, because one of the next key tactical manoeuvres is crossing from one side of the river to the other. Now, chaps, how will they negotiate that, and what will Cambridge do from their position marginally behind now?
Yeah, I mean, they again are going to have to dig deep. We saw a caption a second ago where it showed that Cambridge had done already 12, 13 strokes more than the Oxford boat. They've had to put the energy in to cope with that extra weight advantage of Oxford. Oxford have been very aggressive with the steering, coming over very early here. If Cambridge actually managed to clash with them, it's Oxford's fault. So yeah, they're putting in the pressure, but yeah, okay, from now on, it will become Oxford's advantage. And so Cambridge do need to dig in once again, which is easy to say here, but for them, yeah, they've already been 12 and a half minutes into the race, and it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt big time.
History and statistics make bleak reading now for the crew that trails. That is Cambridge. Almost always a lead now is a decisive lead. There is recent precedent to the contrary, but it is Cambridge's to chase now, because what remain of the contours of the race favour Oxford, who have the greater part of a length lead now on which to cling.
This is where, if anywhere on the river today, it will cut up rough. Because of the wind direction, we've actually been quite lucky because there's not many bits of the river that are so exposed as this bit coming up. So yeah, it could start to get nasty, it could start to become that tricky technical contest that we talked about before the race. And at the moment, it's Oxford who have found their rhythm a bit better, and Cambridge are starting to wallow in the wake.
Yeah, you can see the psychology of the race has changed here. Oxford have got the bit between their teeth. They look determined, they look smooth. Cambridge, meanwhile, there's some heads going round, there's some doubt creeping in, and it could only get worse from here.
Oxford moving smoothly, as one, the product of relentless daily rehearsal. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act but a habit. It was Aristotle who said that first, but a few rowing coaches have repeated it, and it is utterly applicable now. These guys are indeed defining themselves here by what they have repeatedly done. And Oxford, with their greater weight and greater height, and on the whole greater pedigree, are moving away now, and it does look bleak for Cambridge, who stayed in the race, in fairness to them, longer, I think, chaps, than many anticipated they might.
I think actually full credit to Cambridge in the early stages. I must admit, I always had Oxford down as favourites, but Cambridge put in a fantastic effort to stay with there and put Oxford under real pressure. Oxford are the ones looking ragged around Hammersmith Bridge. It was Oxford that were catching the water. Now, because they have the chance to be ahead, Oxford have been able to relax, they're able to kind of see the opposition. It's Cambridge that have to again try and make the kind of the tough moves, as it were, and it's them that are starting to make the mistakes and catch the water themselves.
Okay, let's get back down to the river and hear from James Cracknell. James, increasingly difficult now to make a case for Cambridge.
Yeah, no, they hang on incredibly well. They toughed it out after 3 or 4 minutes when Oxford could have broken clear. They pushed hard round their bend. I thought the umpire was pretty unfair to them, but now they're going to be feeling more and more tired every stroke, and Oxford are going to be feeling fresher and fresher. And I imagine there's a few calls in the Oxford boat telling them to punish Cambridge for last year's race.
Big move actually by both Coxes here. We first saw Rebecca Dowbing into the Cambridge. She moved for the inside of the bend for the calmer water. It was actually spotted by the Oxford crew, and they also have now moved in towards the inside, the Middlesex side of the river. I think Rebecca was taking a chance. She knows she's got to actually make a move, so she's gone for the calmer water and the shorter distance, and Oxford were able to respond that. It'd be interesting because Nick Brodie wouldn't have seen it himself, so it probably have to have been the stroke man who had to report what was going on behind him, because both crews moved across. Cambridge first, Oxford then went to shut the door.
5 minutes or so